and one mark. And then every other cylinder is going to have a top dead center position at 90 degrees away from the original mark. Does that make sense? Because you have 1 mark, 2 mark, 3 mark, 4 mark. So 4 pistons at top dead center, and then 4 more pistons at top dead center. So you complete, but you have multiple cylinders at top dead center at one time. But to make the whole revolution happen, for a complete engine cycle, that has to go twice, which means your firing positions are going to be at every 90 degrees. So there are other pistons at top dead center, but those are pushing exhaust when there's others at a power cycle. So when you have let's say a 6-cylinder engine, you're going to have every 360 degrees divided by 100, divided by 3 is 120. So every 120 degrees of that flywheel on a 6-cylinder that's 4-cycle, you have firing sequence. So then you go down to a 4-cylinder, it's every 90 degrees, or every 180 degrees is your top dead center position, exhaust or power, depending. So then if you want to know how to adjust your valves, and you want to go one by one, because in order, like the last video states, they have to be adjusted in order, then you go every 90 degrees and you follow your order. 1, then you go 90 degrees, 8, and then 4, 3, and so on and so on. So if it's a Chevy, it's 1, 8, 4, 3, 6, 5, 7, 2. So that's, the basis for how to do timing without having to have. Now you want to make marks on your flywheel, obviously every 90 degrees, and you take your teeth, you can use the teeth to divide. So if I had a 168 tooth flywheel, you divide 4 by 168, and that gives you how many teeth in between each mark. And it's not dead accurate, but you just have to be close. I mean, and the theory pushing for that is that if you look up the original sequences on how to operate, how to adjust the valving when you go only in 2 positions and go through one set of valves then another, and you're not doing cylinder every 90 degrees, then basically, in a nutshell, you don't have to be pinpoint accurate to adjust the valve if you're doing one at a time and 2 revolutions of that crankshaft in order to get through all the valves, because you're doing both the intake and the exhaust valves on whatever cylinder's at its firing position. So therefore, you can use the degreeing wheel, and when you're putting a $25,000 race engine together, it makes a lot of sense. And when that cam has a lot of duration and a lot of lift and a lot of lobe separation and all the good stuff, it gets a little more precise. But you're really, in all relevancy, between the dial indicator that you can use on the lifter bores or on those rocker arms, if you get accurate measurements, and that flywheel, you don't have to use all the precision equipment. You can be just as precise with using your brain and a paint marker and a little bit of ingenuity with math. This is how the old guys been doing it for years. So there's also other things you can, there's other ways to achieve, perfect timing when it comes to, the measuring how much stroke you get on a cylinder per degree of revolution of the crankshaft based on stroke. So that's a little more complex, and I'll make other videos later when I get into an actual engine assembly. But for now, I just wanted to go through the basis of how I achieve my timing. This one, because I'm experienced enough to know, I just did this the quick method because I don't have a ton of money into this, so I'm just kind of going over. But this is just a video on a little education why something is a part. Running through the valve train as far as adjustments go. There's 100 methods on the way you can do these. So I'm not really gonna go into that. That's that's to each is some guys fire these things up. Some guys have custom made valve covers that are cut out right here. Old set of valve covers are cut out just enough to get to these bolts. They'll fire them up, and then they'll have these all close, and then they'll just tighten them down to each one quits clicking. I go through and do them manually by feel beforehand, and then usually if I got like I said in another video, usually I go through and do one or two if I got an old wore out motor. This one had some little tweak push rods, so I assume that I'm probably gonna have to back there and tweak these down a little bit. But those push rods could have been because the other guys that had this together kind of had a couple over cranked too. But I don't think so because it's all on just one side, so that would make sense. It could be over revving or abuse. Not sure. These usually have twin governor carburetors to keep them under RPM, but who knows? But everything I see is this motor's never ran since they put. I mean, I just pulled the plugs out of the thing. I just pulled the plugs, checked the gap, and yeah, well, that one's different because I broke one. And I'm gonna end up changing the plugs because I don't know. See, I just got some dust on them, but they're brand new plugs, never been used. You could tell I painted this, but you could see this brand new timing gasket, brand new oil pan gasket, brand new flywheel, brand new thermostats. I mean, brand new. I mean, if you look from the other side here, we can even get in there. You can see that those thermostats have never even seen coolant. They're 185, so they're the right thermostats, should be. You got to check because those are special thermostats for these tall decks. So everything I see brand new intake gaskets. It's never nobody's even messed with this thing since they put it back together. So somebody went through it, made sure everything was good to go, and they were gonna put it back in, and the whole story matches so far. So we'll see if the guy I traded this for is a man of his word. I'd really like to open up the bottom end, but I see absolutely no reason in pulling off all. Somebody did a lot of work to it. They just all. I remember him saying they had to go through the valves, and they basically had it set up to do what people normally do, not my way, but a way. And that way works. Sometimes if motors are old and more, the only way you can do is run them until they stop taking. You adjust them until they quit taking. It's just what they do. So I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying I originally start this way by doing everything by hand and feel. So, and I've taught other people that way, and everybody seems to like it. So I don't think there's anything wrong with it because I learned from old school guys. So, old school guys, multiple. But yeah, we're going to put this guy back together. So we have all of our. I mean, don't mind. Like I said, I got a lot of parts jammed and assembly. Got everything painted and ready to rock. It won't look the most beautiful, and I can't use the tall valve covers. Plus, that one's dented over there anyway. So. Not a big deal, but it's just we're gonna end up putting a twin turbo kit anyway. I'm gonna have to put bigger valve covers because I'm gonna have to give different valve trains and stuff. So I'll upgrade that later. But for now, it'll look like a nice factory 366 tall deck for the most part. Besides a giant air cleaner, it's gonna be a mile in the air because of that riser right there. So, but I already put a recessed bottom lid on it that I've had laying around. Obviously, it doesn't match the top with it's older, but it recess it down just a little bit. But I got body lift in that truck, so it should look really nice when I'm done. So, yeah. So stay tuned, and next video will be after this is assembled and putting it in. So stay tuned.